Yes, this is an estate, or in Audi speak, Avant. And so it's great for stuff like dropping kids to school, or even a weekend trip, or carting home all your shopping. But because this is an RS6 performance, it's also great for stuff like this. RS means, well, it's a sportier Audi. Performance means it's sportier still. Consider these numbers. The engine in both the RS6s is the same 4-litre TFSI bi-turbo V8. But while the regular RS6 puts out a colossal 560 horsepower, this performance version takes that further still to 605. That's just 5 horsepower shy of the mighty R8 V10 Plus. And as far as torque goes, at 700 Nm, it's basically the most powerful Audi there is. So it's no surprise that the 0 to 100 km/h time comes up in 3.7 seconds and the top speed's limited to 250 km/h. Now typically, well, I'd say that's fast considering this is an estate. But 3.7 seconds, that's fast by any standards. But sadly, heavy rain and thick fog meant we only dared push it so much. So there is comfort mode and you can happily potter around all nice and calm and easy. There's ample power till about 3000 RPM. Beyond that, of course, it just goes manic. But there are times where you feel that, well, it's stuck in too high a gear and there's a kind of resonance around the cabin. But for the most part, it's just fine. And then there's dynamic mode, where everything just goes skywards. The engine, well, it's alive and kicking, the gearbox super quick, and the exhaust nice and vocal. Really supercar level stuff. Now before I forget to do so, let me say something about the car itself. Globally, Audi have just released the new A6, but the RS6 versions still run on the older 4th generation. Having driven the new Gen A6 sedan, the interiors of this RS6 did feel wanting in a few areas, mostly in the lack of things like Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, as well as Audi's virtual cockpit. The interiors are also the older, more rounded style rather than the new edgy design. But these bits aside, the steering wheel is a nice flat-bottomed chunky unit and there is a lavish use of carbon fiber around the cabin. It's also decently loaded with stuff like a 4-zone climate control system, memory seats and Audi's MMI infotainment system. Space is ample too. The front seats are comfortable and have deep side bolstering. The rear has a lot of space as well, but it's best for two. A very high central tunnel and a narrow seat base will make the center passenger quite uncomfortable. As for the boot, at 565 litres, it's sufficiently large for weekend trips. And the rear seat backs also fold down to accommodate more. As for the styling, well, it's an estate, but it does look quite striking thanks to massive tyres shod on spider-like alloys, an aggressive bumper with wide intakes and a large central rear diffuser. The stance too is nice and wide and low, aiding to the sporty appeal. Now there's another suffix we shouldn't forget, and that's quattro or 4-wheel drive. And what that means is this car can do this. Yep, corner carving is massive amounts of fun. It isn't supercar level, but well, entertaining enough. The fat 285 section tires provide you immense amount of grip and you can just, well, enjoy these twisties. It isn't playful, but powering around corners with that amount of grip is fun in its own way. The steering in comfort mode is pretty light, but it doesn't have a very good feel to it. Dynamic mode though does tighten it up and gives you a good amount of weight, but it isn't the best out there. And of course, by best I mean compared to other performance cars. By, well, estate standards, it's just fine. The car may be now based on an older generation and missing a few modern bits. Plus, the ride in dynamic mode is really far too bumpy for our roads. And the steering, it isn't the best either. But the RS6 performance can boast of a mighty V8, a sub 4 second 0 to 100 km/h sprint time, while at the same time carrying 4 people and all their luggage in absolute comfort. At 1.65 crore ex-showroom, it may be pricey and a good rupees 30 lakh over a regular RS6. But as a performance estate, it offers you quite a bit of exclusivity and makes a statement saying you're different from the rest. And for some, that and the bragging rights of having the most powerful estate there is worth a lot.